Welcome back to Leather and Willow with Ashit and myself, Dr. Siddhartha. We've done a quick review of all the IPL teams that will be participating in the IPL that is set to begin in the next 10 days. But with just under a week to go, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and that's what is the focus of this episode, is the IPL, given that it is a domestic championship primarily meant to unearth Indian talents. Has it really done that job? And more importantly, what we thought we could focus on were the one-season wonders who have been a flash in the pan in the IPL, who have done phenomenally well in the IPL in 1 or 2 seasons, sometimes gone on to represent the country on the back of that performance, but have frittered away with time. So we thought, can we come up with a proper playing squad of 11 players, right from openers down to death bowlers? Can we come up with a squad of such players? We thought it is ambitious at first, but then we actually struggled to bring it down to 12 because there are quite a few such characters who have been very promising and who have not quite kept up their performances in subsequent seasons. So without much ado, let's go to the team itself. Ashit, can we have the first slide, please? Sure. Opening the batting for the one-season wonders is a name that we all will definitely remember. Paul Chandrasekhar Valtati, one of the first Indians to score 100 in the IPL. He had a stellar season in 2011 when he smashed 100 against CSK. And that reflects if in 2011 he played 14 matches at an average of 35 and at a strike rate of 136. But in the very next season, Paul Valtati didn't live up to quite the same performances. And we don't even know what happened to him after that. So who's next, Ashit? Who opens with Paul Valtati?
So thank you for the wonderful introduction. Opening the batting with Paul Valtati is going to be Swapnil Asnotkar. If you remember Asnotkar, he played for the Rajasthan Royals in 2008 and even led them to the title. You can see that in 2008, he scored 311 runs at an average of 34 and a strike rate of 133. That's very impressive. But he went on to play a few more seasons, but the next season itself wasn't very eventful, with scoring less than 100 runs the entire season and fading away in 2010, scoring just 5 runs in 2 innings. But one of his most notable...
Yes, sorry. Yeah,
his most notable performance is going to be his partnership with Graeme Smith in the final against the Chennai Super Kings that actually led Rajasthan to the title.
Yes. Not just in the finals. I think he stitched a very important start for Rajasthan Royals when he opened with Graeme Smith, like you said, throughout the season. You know, they reminded people of Jayasurya and Kaluvitarana of the 90s. So yeah, that was Swapnil Asnotkar for you. And coming in at one drop, actually this guy Tirumala Sethi Suman was also an opener for the Deccan Chargers, and he too was part of their setup when they won in 2009. And he played a stellar role opening the batting for them. But because we thought that Paul Valtati and Swapnil Asnotkar had much better runs, more runs than Suman, we had to drop Suman to number 3. Suman also an aggressive opening batsman, hard hitting. He had all the big shots. He gave them some very quick starts for the now defunct Deccan Chargers. But after 2 seasons, we saw that Suman kind of frittered away all the runs that he had behind him. Even the runs that he scored in the Ranji Trophy in the years between IPL season, from one season to another, he had some good knocks in the domestic league, and after that he didn't quite make it to the main playing 11 or didn't make it big in the auctions.
And after Tirumala Sethi at number 4, we have Manoj Tiwari. He's not exactly a one-season wonder as such. He has been through the IPL for a long time, and even in the 2020 season, he's right now rumored to be a suitable replacement for Suresh Raina for the Chennai Super Kings. He's probably the most controversial tweeter after Gambhir. He even tweeted about Dhoni, saying the Indian team is not anybody's property. But coming into what he's done on the field, you can see that 2012 and 11 were one of his best seasons. 2011 especially, playing for the Kolkata Knight Riders. He scored 359 runs at an average of 51. That's very, very impressive. That's something that you really should talk about. At a strike rate of 110, but for a number 4 batsman, that's quite good. And he played 15 matches. The next season, he played 16 matches where Kolkata even went to the finals. But his performances weren't as good as his previous seasons, and he just went away afterwards.
Well, again, probably because of successive good seasons, Manoj Tiwari did get to play for the Indian team, and that's one of the questions that he keeps raising. He played a pretty decent knock in his last one-day international to date, and he says, "What did I do wrong to be dropped after such a knock?" So, someone who did go to the next league, but he couldn't quite keep himself, lock his position down with the Indian team. And he did play for multiple teams in the IPL. I remember he played with Dhoni in the when Dhoni was the captain of the Pune team.
Pune Super Giants, yeah.
2016 and 17 seasons. So like you said, he's still around, but he's not quite the same force that he had in the beginning. And his numbers show that, he has blown hot and blown cold in across seasons. Yeah. So let's go to number 5. Number 5. Well, when you see the name, there are only 2 things that everybody remembers when it comes to Saurabh Tiwari. One is the fact that he's a hard-hitting batsman from Jharkhand, much like somebody else we know, and has long hair like that same person. Saurabh Tiwari, again, he has played for multiple teams. He's played for Mumbai, he's played for Royal Challengers Bangalore, and he came to the front because of his, like I said, his hard-hitting skills, his ability to clear the boundary with ease. But in fact, that also took him to the national level, because they expected him to do the same job when he played for India. But he didn't have a great run there. But Saurabh Tiwari is one of those guys who has promised so much, who has delivered very briefly, and on the basis of that, a lot has been expected from him, but he has never gone on to achieve great things. Let's move on.
And at number 6, we have our wicketkeeper of the team, Manvinder Bisla. You will remember this name for all the wrong reasons. He came into the Kolkata Knight Riders team in the middle of the 2012 season, and he did wonders. He played just 7 matches, but scored about 213 runs at an average of 30. And he even led Kolkata to the title in 2012 in the finals again. He played a very good innings there. And he even has a strike rate of 133 throughout the season. But coming in just the next season, he was touted to be a big star in that season. He went in, he played all 14 matches for the Kolkata Knight Riders, but could score only 255 runs at 19.62. And the next season, he just played 1 match, scoring 3 runs, and then he was just dropped from the team. Make it to the big league as well.
Yeah, like you said, Manvinder Bisla, in that season where he has scored 213 runs in 2012, 84 of those runs came in 1 innings. 84 or 87 runs came in 1 innings versus CSK at the CSK's den, the Chepauk Stadium. And it was quite a heartbreaking match because they chased it with ease, and this guy was on a roll. But yeah, like you said, Manvinder Bisla has not quite lived up to his performances after that in the subsequent seasons. So now we go down to the all-rounder slot. The all-rounder slot goes to Rajat Bhatia, someone who has had a lot of success with Kolkata Knight Riders. And I think Gautam Gambhir used to use him very smartly. He used to use him in particular phases in the match. And Rajat Bhatia was very consistent in terms of breaking the partnership, because he used to bowl this Chris Harris kind of wobbly medium pace and hit the deck kind of a bowler. You can see he's picked up 13 wickets and 11 wickets and 12 wickets, which is very good across the seasons. And Rajat Bhatia was also one of the mainstays of the Delhi team when they were in the Ranji Trophy as well. Probably somebody who could have gone on to play for India when he had, when it was the prime of his career, but he couldn't quite break in for reasons best known to the selection committee. But after that, after having won a couple of IPL seasons, Rajat Bhatia slowly just withdrew, rather was withdrawn from the team, and he was not picked up by any other team, and eventually he's just away from the limelight.
And coming in next to our proper bowlers, again, you have Iqbal Abdullah. Again, if you see a lot of these players, Manoj Tiwari, Manvinder Bisla, and Iqbal Abdullah, Rajat Bhatia, all of them are actually brought in by Gautam Gambhir for the Kolkata Knight Riders. So Kolkata Knight Riders has produced a lot of one-season wonders there. His season of wonders was the 2011 one. He played 15 matches and took 16 wickets. His economy is something that's very, very impressive. He bowled at an economy of 6.10, which is something very, very impressive in a T20 tournament as such. It's not just one game, and even has a strike rate of 18.75. He unfortunately could never replicate his success in the successive seasons. You can see that 2012, where Kolkata actually went on to win the title, he hasn't performed too well. In 4 wickets in 9 matches at a strike rate of 33, that's not going to impress any captain, and he couldn't unfortunately make it into the team again.
All right. Pradeep Sangwan, okay. One of Delhi Daredevils' good finds in terms of the fast bowling department. And in 2009, he has had a terrific season where he picked up 15 wickets at a strike rate of 18.67 at an economy of 7. Right? It's really good numbers. If I were to mask the name and the photo, you wouldn't be able to guess that this is the name behind those kind of numbers. And subsequently, Pradeep Sangwan didn't really have much takers in the IPL, and I was very surprised to read that amongst the teams that have gone to Dubai now, Pradeep Sangwan is one of the net bowlers who has accompanied the teams. I thought that was a very steep fall for somebody who's still playing 10 years after his best performance, but he's been reduced to a net bowler, and I thought that was a little sad. But on the back of his performance in 2009, which was preceded and which was followed by very average performances by Pradeep Sangwan, we thought that he should play in our team as a fast bowler.
And coming in again, you can't really call him a fast bowler as such, but just when the IPL fever was kicking into the country, in the first season, he was picked up by the Chennai Super Kings in the auction led by MS Dhoni. And Dhoni used him very, very well. He used him as a who relied a lot to play under the lights, not really getting in a lot of swing, but he had something about him that really he does have good numbers. He's taken 17 wickets in 16 innings. And you should, in the subsequent seasons, unfortunately, Dhoni actually picked up Hilfenhaus in the auction. Rather, CSK picked up Hilfenhaus in the auction, and Manpreet Dhoni is very similar to. Unfortunately, he again withered away from the limelight, as you can see. 2009 playing 7 games, taking 5 wickets, and finally in the 2010 season taking 1 wicket in 3 matches. Manpreet Dhoni is going to take a slot there.
I think eventually he did play a season or two with the Kings 11 Punjab as well, right? I think we missed that. So he did go to Kings 11 Punjab, but going all the way there, going to that camp didn't make much difference to his numbers. And again, Dhoni is one of those guys who went on to play for India on the basis of his performance in the IPL. I think he played 2 games and he didn't. I think he must have picked 2. I think he picked 2 wickets, right, Ashit?
He played 1 game against Bangladesh and 1 against Hong Kong. He went wicketless in the game against Hong Kong, and he picked up 2 wickets against Bangladesh.
Well, if you go wicketless against Hong Kong, I don't think you deserve to play again. So that's probably why he was left out. And who do we have next? All right, probably one of the few guys who's still playing cricket. And as recent as last week in the Caribbean Premier League, he bowled 4 overs for 9 runs, picking up 1 wicket. The unbelievable Praveen Tambe, whose career began when most careers are done and dusted, right? And the numbers here also show you that, it's a dicey situation to put Praveen Tambe because he's still playing. He's still being bought and he's by some teams. But then when he was picked in 2014 by Rahul Dravid for Rajasthan Royals, it seems Rahul Dravid told him that the way the ball comes out of your hand, the swing which you bring in your trajectory and then it turns, the grip that you get off the surface, it's something that none of us have ever faced. So someone who played in this gully tournaments and these cricket tennis ball tournaments, he slowly graduated. In fact, when he played for the IPL for Rajasthan Royals in the IPL, he hadn't even played for Mumbai in any form. So it was only after he was picked for Rajasthan that he eventually represented Mumbai in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. He had a stellar run in the Champions Trophy, which numbers of which are not part of our screen here. But look at that strike rate and look at that economy in 2014, and after that, of course, it's slowly dwindled. But Tambe is still playing at the age of 48. Hats off to his fitness and hats off to his passion for continuing to play the game.
Sid, I think you still have hope. You have a few years before you reach 40, and I think your students still are scared to bolt you in the tournaments that you play at college, right?
I'm happy playing in the Chaitanya Jyoti grounds and the basketball court behind our hostel. Thank you.
And with that, we finish our 11, but we do have a 12th man. Like you mentioned at the start, we really couldn't constrict. We found it tough actually to constrict to 11 people, but and that person is going to be Shadab Jakati. If you're a CSK fan, again, you remember his name. He's a left-arm orthodox bowler, and his run between 2010 and 2012, we can see that 2010 and 11 and 12, he has very, very similar stats. 15 matches, 10 wickets in both seasons. But unfortunately, in 2012, he had a very high economy rate, which isn't really acceptable in a T20 tournament, especially after playing 15 innings. And Shadab Jakati, again, just he play for another franchise, if I'm not wrong, but he really couldn't perform there as well. And he takes the 12th man.
When we spoke about all these guys and we remembered them for that one moment in the IPL, I think the Jakati moment that I remember is the run out that he missed. There's a terrible run out that he missed, which I think if you're interested in watching, if you want to have a good laugh, and especially if you're a CSK hater, you should go and YouTube Jakati misses run out, CSK misses run out as the search tag. And you'll definitely have a laugh for a couple of minutes because it was terrible the way he missed that run out. But yes, these are some of the other guys who figured in the larger list. We have Ajit Chandila, yes, Ashit?
Yeah, we have Ajit Chandila.
They had Kamran Khan, yes, Ajit Chandila, Rahul Sharma, who also played for India. He went, and Sudeep Tyagi. Of course, there's also Unmukh Chand, another dashing under-19 captain who played for a couple of teams in the IPL but couldn't replicate his under-19 success in the IPL, and therefore, obviously, he didn't progress after that. And Unmukh Chand is not so old, but Unmukh Chand is not on the scene at all, not even in the domestic cricket scene. So, yeah, so the point being that in our description of all the teams, in our review of all the teams, we spoke about a domestic star who should be looked out for in this IPL. And the point is, there are so many guys who are talented. There are so many guys who will come through. We spoke about Ravi Bishnoi. We spoke about Sai Kishore, Devdutt Padikkal. We spoke about Yashasvi Jaiswal. These are all great names. But the point is, the IPL is a huge launchpad when you're playing against the best in the world. And a launchpad like that gives you an opportunity to bring the spotlight on yourself. But once you bring the spotlight on yourself, what do you do with it? And that's what you do with it will depend on how you play the domestic season, how you impress people in different formats as well. Because Shubman Gill came in on the back of his under-19 prowess, but he also showed that he had Shubman Gill or Rishabh Pant or Prithvi Shaw. They showed that they had the game to play at the highest level, and that's what has set them apart from the rest of their colleagues who played with them in the under-19 winning team. Like a Kamlesh Nagarkoti or a Shivam Mavi, who have not been able to show the same kind of prowess, who are still very good bowlers, who are very young. They still have a lot of time on their side. But the point being that for every Prithvi Shaw who makes it to the Indian team, there are at least a dozen such guys who fritter away the spotlight when it is on them. So,
in fact, even Virat Kohli right now, who's captaining our team, came as a World Cup winning captain in the under-19, came into the IPL and played for Royal Challengers Bangalore, and he came through that. So IPL has produced a lot of stars, but unfortunately, it's up to them to get the opportunity and perform.
In fact, if you see, Rohit Sharma made his debut for India much before Virat Kohli did. And for the 2011 World Cup that happened in India, Rohit Sharma was not in the team, but Virat Kohli was in the team. So it's a combination of your IPL performances, because you play the best in the world, and how you play against them shows how good you are. Of course, now there's very little to distinguish a Rohit Sharma and a Virat Kohli. Right? But the point being that the IPL is a platform, but not everybody makes it big from there. So when the chance is there, you make the most of it. Or like they say, make the proverbial hay when the sun shines.
Sure. Thank you so much for the wonderful episode. We look forward to seeing you again in our future episodes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.